It's day 2 of our very big, slightly inspired, though stupendously crazy small car comparison test. Today, we head from Manali across the Rohtang Pass and down to Jispa. Rohtang, in case you didn't know, actually means pile of dead bodies in Tibetan. The roads now are much better than the donkey trails back then, but for these small cars, it's going to be a torturous test of their abilities. Manali, as you can see, is bright, it's sunny, and it is extremely beautiful. So beautiful and the weather so good that half the crew wants to break the story here and head back to Delhi. But we've got a job to do and Rohtang beckons. Before that though, breakfast beckons. After lots of breakfast, we hit the road, stuffed, fat, and happy. Jispa was only 140 kilometers away, the sun had finally come out, the weather was good, and it should have all meant an easy jog. But never, ever, ever underestimate Rohtang.
New day and it's shades of grey. No, I'm not going to go poetic on you, but I am in the A star. It's not only a grey A star, the interiors are a symphony of greys. There's 1 grey, 2 grey, 3 grey, 4 grey, and this is 100% grey. But despite the monochromatic scheme, it is a nice cabin to be in. For a small car, it comes with a fair amount of equipment. You've got a good air conditioner, you've got a music system that you can connect your iPod to, and of course it plays your CDs and has the radio too. And at the end of the day, this is a small car. It's a very intimate cabin and you sit very close to your passengers. But then you have to remember that this is the International Alto, which is a standard setting small car, so it has to be cozy.
The convoy pootled along, winding through Himachal's famed apple orchards. And some of our boys were being a bit naughty, stuffing glove boxes with Himachal's finest. No, not Manali's finest, Himachal's finest. I got a letter the last week. This reader, he genuinely wants to know why doesn't Hyundai use the same 1.3 litre diesel engine which Tata Motors uses, which Fiat uses and which Maruti uses. He actually thought that every car is required to have that same diesel engine. Well, every car isn't required to have the same diesel engine, and Hyundai has some good diesels under the belt. This one has got a brand new 1.4 litre common rail diesel engine. And the big question is it better than Fiat's 1.3 litre diesel? No chance. The thing that strikes you about the i20's diesel engine is that there is absolutely no torque low down the rev range. You have to keep it above 2000 RPM. On these slopes in first gear, you have to rev it hard, pop the clutch, spin the tires, burn the clutch and hope that it'll make it up the slope. It's proving to be difficult taking it up.
My initial reactions to the Punto were not too positive, especially when we drove her in the city and did all those tests for the magazine and for the show. But now here in the hills, you can suddenly feel a lot of these things coming together. The engine's working brilliantly, the gearbox is operating efficiently, and she feels smooth, she feels refined, powerful even. I can drive her up in third gear on these mountain passes and we're at a pretty high altitude right now. The only grouse I have is that I can see the fuel needles dropping rapidly. We've barely done about 50 kilometers now and the needle's hovering very close to the 3/4 mark. And that does not bode too well for this car, does it?
We pushed on though, through the tight, twisty and oh so beautiful Manali switchbacks, mesmerized by the views. We should have been pushing the cars, evaluating ride and handling, but the views need an audience, and we were the audience. By noon, we hit Madi, a small village at the base of Rohtang, a place where like all tourists, you too must stop for chai and bloody awful roasted corn. It's the perfect place to take in the views. The view of that 15-kilometer long traffic jam stretching all the way up to Rohtang. Fun? Do you call this fun? Like the best laid plans, everything has gone choppered. It's 4:30 and we haven't moved. There's still a 3 or 4 kilometer long tailback. The landslide hasn't yet been cleared. A few trucks have come down, but that's about it. We haven't moved from here. We are fed up now, but instead of turning around towards Manali, what we're thinking is we'll do a Bambaya Giri, we'll jump the queue, we'll go to the head of the queue and try and force our way through. Fingers crossed.
Are you guys moving? Are you sure? Are you moving?
Half an hour of totally irresponsible and selfish driving later, we reach the head of the queue, but we almost wish we hadn't passed. The roads, they are the worst we have ever seen. There's no tarmac, just boulders the size of small children which we clamber over, scrape undersides and generally bash the living daylights out of the cars.
If your small car can do this, amongst these 9 cars, which car can take this the easiest, can go through this without a scratch, that car will truly be the best small car money can buy in the country today. By far, there's no doubt about that.
Obviously, some cars fared better than others. The little ones, the A-Star and the i10 pottered through, no problems. The Swift had to be worked hard because all its power is at the top of the rev range. The Fabia, she struggled with turbo lag, but by far the worst of all was the i20. It was so bad that we drew lots and the short end of the stick fell to Himalayan rally champion Suresh Rana. Funny thing though, we all expected the Indica to be a pain, but it managed just fine.
Rohtang, we finally made it up. We started at 10 o'clock from Manali and it's now 7:30. That's 9.5 hours to do just 55 kilometers. It's been an absolutely treacherous road, if you can call that a road. But credit to the border road. In 2 years, once the road widening is done, it'll be a smooth drive up to Rohtang. Now it's far from smooth. Nonetheless, we had a lot of fun, though I don't think the cars had any fun.
As darkness fell, the convoy carried on, despite driving becoming even more treacherous. We finally got to Jispa at midnight, after traveling a grand total of 140 kilometers in 18 hours. The curse of Rohtang had struck.